Okay, what's up, everybody? This is a talk about the stock Draftkings, and in this channel, I'm going to try and talk about investment ideas that are pretty much passive and pretty much guarantee future income. And anyone who's kind of interested in Draftkings, kind of like playing and gambling and making quick money and betting on sports and those kinds of things, but realizing that it's really better to be on the side of the house because if you bet on sports, if they get equal percentage of bets placed on either side of a team, the house always wins, where only about half of the people who bet on the sports will win, and a company like DraftKings will always take what's called the rake and make money. But I really started looking at this stock for a lot of reasons, in that it is mobile in times of places like viruses and mobile and non-mobile locations like big casinos like MGM and some of these places just have huge overheads, real estate, lots of money just being dumped in the building and employees and all these things. And DraftKings is kind of the number one for your phone. They say they own about 60% of the market, where the other 40 is going to FanDuel. But what makes this stock really appealing to me is it just IPO'd through a SPAC, but huge backings by people like George Soros, 2.7 million shares. We're going to look over here at DraftKings common stock institutional holders. I mean, you've got some huge names in here. Look at this: Goldman Sachs. This is the amount of shares held and the shares changed. You just look at a company like Goldman, over 1 million shares, 4,000% increase. They're coming in before that SPAC, so that thing was the price of the share. The share price of DraftKings was down at like $10 then before the SPAC, and now after Q1 earnings, it's all the way up to almost $30 a share. One other reason to get into this stock now is looking at put to call ratios at 0.2. It means pretty much everyone is totally bullish on believing that this stock is going to go higher, and there's just lots of good reasons why. My main point why I invested a huge portion of my money that I was allocating towards stocks in it as soon as it went IPO, is I was researching this a long time, but I put in even a bigger chunk in right before this last earning day, expecting it to go up, because I figured there's just no real downsides. If they missed earning per share estimates, it doesn't really matter because people will see it as a growth stock. But it's just going to grow so much, and there's just the one big thing I feel like with mobile too is just that anyone can play any contest at any time on their phone. So DraftKings has moved from beyond just daily fantasy sports to iGaming, which is your casino games like blackjack and all those things. They can make money 24/7 on people's phones. Can you imagine people waiting for their Ubers or in line at Chipotle playing blackjack on their phone anytime, like 24/7? And legalized sports gambling in certain states. They just opened up Colorado and Pennsylvania, and this is only going to grow to more states as states look to benefit off of tax revenue from these sorts of streams. And just the fact that DraftKings, I keep going back to it, is a mobile company that you can just do an online sports book, anyone from their house, anytime, on sports betting. And then the last big thing is popping off huge is esports. And you look at the generation now and how many of them, if you ever watch like a Fortnite tournament, just like Google what it looks like. Obviously, there's social distancing now, but these tournaments are insane. How many people, young people, are getting involved in esports and watch it and just stream it. And some of them are going to want to bet on it in the future, and it's just going to grow huge. So people are saying this stock is expensive. It's new and speculative. They have huge revenue growth, but also no earnings, negative earnings, which is a risk in some ways. But I just want to get this quick intro into how you can bet on the house instead of betting on sports teams and losing. And this is one I'm really excited with. I'm going to go into more detail in future videos. The last thing I'm going to leave with, though, is I did talk about some of the institutional investors, and the last one is the other huge names that are in this, like Walt Disney, which is ESPN. So they've known about this for a while, and then also MLB and NHL are hugely invested in this company, and so you can tell all of these sports brands, the NFL, who Draftkings advertises with, like they all know what this company means for their revenues, because the more people that bet on the games are fully invested in games, even games that are irrelevant. Like if you've got a fantasy sports bet and it's a big bet and you can win millions of, up to $1 million on most of their contests, on a game that is a blowout, like 40-0 in the fourth quarter, but you have a quarterback or a running back on that team, and it could be two teams that are out of the playoffs, like they have retention in these viewings because if you're a true avid follower of like your fantasy sports team, you will watch these games in moments where they're irrelevant and normally would have been turned off, and it's just gonna be huge for ratings for all these companies like ESPN and stuff too. The more people that are involved in daily fantasy sports, so it's just like this huge partnership of like the biggest industries, like all gonna be benefiting off of this. But that's what I'll leave with you guys today. This is just the first start of the channel here. I'm gonna keep following this stock and uploading lots of videos in this kind of mostly themed around DraftKings, but also just investing, in how the title of this channel is The House Always Wins, and that basically the whole theme of it is going to be that if you are investing in the stock market, say the S&P 500, over time you could lose, the house can lose a round of blackjack, right? Like, any player could just walk up, bet $50, hit a blackjack, walk away, and make that money. So the house loses in that short term. But even if you invest in the S&P any amount of time, given enough time, excuse me, the house will always win. And that's the idea behind long-term investing in another company I'm just kind of focused on mostly. Excuse me, I can't talk right now, but it's going to be DraftKings, and encourage you guys to stick around.